Eleanor Harrison's hands shook as she pressed the rifle against her shoulder. 5 men on horseback surrounded her cabin. Her 3 sons huddled behind her skirts. The deputy raised his hand to signal the others forward. "Last chance, widow," he called out. "Leave peaceful, or we burn you out." Ben, her eldest, only 11 years old, grabbed the rifle from her hands. "Ma, get back inside." But Eleanor couldn't move, couldn't breathe. This was the land her husband had died for, the land that had killed him, and she wasn't leaving without a fight. Before we continue Eleanor's story, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and follow this journey to the very end. Comment below with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's return to that desperate autumn day in Silver Creek. The shovel bit into hard earth with a sound that would haunt Eleanor Harrison for the rest of her life. Thud. Pause. Thud. Each strike drove her husband deeper into Wyoming soil. She stood at the edge of Daniel's grave, dry-eyed. Tears had run out 3 days ago when they'd brought his broken body home. The boys stood beside her, Benjamin tall and rigid at 11, trying so hard to be the man his father had been. Thomas, 8 years old, clutching her hand so tight it hurt. And Samuel, just 5, who kept asking when Papa would wake up. "Ashes to ashes." Reverend Silas Harper murmured, his Bible held at arm's length, as if contamination might leap from Eleanor's black dress onto its holy pages. She watched his lips move, watched the townsfolk of Silver Creek keep their distance. 20 yards between her family and theirs, as if death were contagious, as if grief had teeth. "Dust to dust." The words fell flat in the autumn wind. No one met her eyes. Martha Chen stood near the back, the only face that showed anything close to sympathy, but even Martha wouldn't step forward, wouldn't cross that invisible line the town had drawn around the Harrison family. "He knew," Eleanor whispered. Benjamin's head snapped toward her. "Ma, your father knew. 3 nights before, he came to bed and held me like he was already saying goodbye." Her voice cracked. "I should have stopped him, should have—" "Mrs. Harrison." Deputy Cole Mason stepped forward, his silver star catching weak sunlight. "A word." She didn't want to give him a word, didn't want to give this man anything, but she nodded. Cole's boots crunched on frost-brittle grass as he approached. Up close, she could see the lines around his eyes. 42 years old, and already looking older. "You got 5 days." Eleanor's stomach dropped. 5 days for what? "To clear out, you and the boys." He pulled a folded document from his coat. "Bank's foreclosing on your property. Seems your husband had debts you didn't know about." "That's a lie." The words came out sharp. "Daniel didn't borrow money. We own that land free and clear. Bank says different." Cole's face showed nothing. No regret, no sympathy. Just the flat neutrality of a man doing a job he'd done too many times. "You got 5 days, Mrs. Harrison. After that I come with men and we remove you. Remove us where we got nowhere to go. That ain't my concern." He tipped his hat, a gesture so absurd it nearly made her laugh. Then he turned and walked back to his horse. Eleanor looked down at her boys, 3 faces staring up at her, waiting for her to fix this. To make it right, to be the parent they needed. She had no idea how. The next 3 days passed in a blur of desperate action. Eleanor packed what little they could carry, sold what few possessions the bank hadn't claimed. Martha Chen bought Daniel's pocket watch for twice what it was worth, pressing the money into Eleanor's palm with tears in her eyes. "He was a good man," Martha whispered. "Best I ever knew." "Then why won't anyone help us?" Eleanor asked. "Why won't anyone stand up and say this is wrong?" Martha's face twisted with shame. "Jesse Dalton owns this town, Eleanor. The bank, the mine, the very ground we walk on. People who cross him end up like Daniel, or they lose everything trying. So everyone just looks away. Everyone wants to live." Martha squeezed her hand once, then disappeared into the crowd. On the morning of the 5th day, Eleanor and her boys stood outside their cabin with everything they owned in 2 wagon bags. The autumn sun rose cold and distant. Ben held his father's old rifle, the one thing the bank hadn't taken. Thomas carried Samuel on his back. The little boy had stopped asking questions. He just buried his face in his brother's neck and didn't look at anything. Eleanor heard hoofbeats before she saw them. Deputy Cole Mason rode up with 6 men behind him. She recognized them all. Joe Peterson from the general store. Frank Miller, who'd helped Daniel raise the cabin walls. Sam Tucker, who'd shared Thanksgiving dinner at their table. Friends, or what passed for friends in Silver Creek. "Time's up, Mrs. Harrison," Cole said. "I know." Eleanor picked up one of the bags. "We're leaving." "Where are you planning to go?" "Does it matter to you?" Cole's jaw tightened. For a moment, just a moment, she thought she saw something human flicker in his eyes. Then it died. "Guess not." They started walking. Eleanor didn't look back at the cabin. Looking back would break her. So she looked forward instead. Looked at the road leading out of Silver Creek, stretching empty and endless into brown grass and gray sky. They made it maybe 200 yards before Ben spoke. "Ma." "Keep walking, honey." "Ma, someone's coming." Eleanor stopped. Turned. A single rider approached from the west, silhouetted against the rising sun. Tall in the saddle, moving at an easy pace that spoke of confidence, or maybe indifference. The rider drew closer. Eleanor could make out details now. A man, maybe late 30s, early 40s, dark coat and darker hat. A face weathered by sun and time, and something else. Something that lived behind his eyes like a permanent shadow. He reined in his horse 20 feet away, dismounted in one smooth motion. When he looked at Eleanor, she felt the weight of his gaze like a physical thing. "You, the Harrison widow." His voice was low, rough, like gravel washed by river water. "I am." Eleanor straightened her spine, lifted her chin. "What's it to you?" The man glanced past her at the mounted deputies. At Cole Mason in particular. Something passed between them. Recognition, history, maybe bad blood. "Dalton send you to finish the job." The stranger's question was directed at Cole, not Eleanor. "She's leaving town Steele. That's all that matters." Steele. Eleanor stored the name away, watched the man process Cole's words with the kind of stillness that spoke of danger kept carefully leashed. "That right?" Steele looked back at Eleanor. "You leaving willing?" "I'm leaving because I got no choice," Eleanor said. "They took my land, took my home, and they did it on a lie." Her voice rose. "My husband died for that land. Died finding something on it that Jesse Dalton wanted. And now Daniel's dead and we're homeless, and everyone in this town—" She had to stop, had to breathe. "Everyone in this town knows it's wrong and nobody says a damn thing." Ben gasped. "Ma, you cursed." "I'll curse more than that before this is done." Eleanor turned back to Steele. "You here to gawk like the rest of them? Or you gonna help?" Steele studied her for a long moment. Then he turned to Cole. "She owe the bank money. That's between her and the bank." "How much?" Cole's horse shifted. $300. A muscle jumped in Steele's jaw. "For land worth 10 times that once the silver veins tapped." Silence. Eleanor's breath caught. Silver vein. So someone else knew. Someone else understood what had gotten Daniel killed. Cole's hand drifted toward his gun. "Careful what you accuse people of, Steele." "Ain't accusing." Steele's voice stayed level, calm. "Just stating facts. Daniel Harrison found silver on his land. Jesse Dalton wanted it. Now Daniel's dead and the widow's being run off. Those are facts, Cole, not accusations." "You got proof of any of that?" "Do you?" The 2 men stared at each other. Eleanor could feel the tension like electricity before a storm. Her boys pressed close behind her. Samuel had started crying silently, his small shoulders shaking. Finally, Cole looked away. We got a job to do here. Then do it. Steele moved to Eleanor's side. But the widow and her boys are coming with me. Eleanor's heart stuttered. What? You need a place to stay, don't you? Steele didn't look at her, kept his eyes on Cole and the 6 men behind him. I got a ranch 5 miles west. More space than I know what to do with. You can work for room and board. The boys too if they're willing. I don't need charity, Eleanor said. Didn't offer charity, offered a job. Now he did look at her. You any good with horses? I can ride. Can you gentle them? Break them without breaking their spirit? Eleanor thought of Daniel teaching her to work with the wild mustangs that sometimes wandered onto their property. Gentle hands, soft voice, patience and respect. Yes. Then you got a job and a place to live. Steele turned back to Cole. That satisfy your eviction orders? They're off the land. You've done your duty. Cole's face had gone carefully blank. You're making a mistake, Steele. Wouldn't be my first. Jesse won't like it. Jesse can go to hell. The words were soft, almost conversational, but they landed like rocks in still water. And you can tell him I said so. For a moment, Eleanor thought Cole might draw his gun, might force a confrontation right here in the road with her boys watching. But instead, he just nodded once. Slow, almost respectful. Your funeral, Cole said. Then he wheeled his horse around and rode back toward town, his men following. Eleanor waited until they were out of sight before her knees gave out. She sat down hard in the dirt road, shaking so badly she couldn't stand. Steele crouched beside her. Didn't touch her. Just waited. Why? Eleanor asked. You don't know me. Don't know my boys. Why would you do this? Steele was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice carried weight that had nothing to do with volume. 4 years ago, I lost my wife and daughter. I was off tracking an outlaw. Got home 3 days too late. Cholera took them while I was gone. He paused. I know what it's like to lose everything, to have nobody step up when you need them most. Eleanor looked at this stranger, this man who'd appeared out of nowhere, like an answer to a prayer she hadn't known how to pray. I got 3 boys and nothing else. No money, no prospects. Why would you take that on? Because someone should have taken it on for me. Steele stood, offered his hand. Name's Jackson Steele. Jack, if you prefer. Eleanor took his hand. Let him pull her to her feet. Eleanor Harrison. Ellie, if you prefer. Well, Ellie. Jack turned to the boys. Which one of you is the oldest? Ben stepped forward. I am. Benjamin Harrison. This is Thomas and Samuel. Ben. Jack extended his hand. Pleasure to meet you. Ben stared at the offered hand for a moment before taking it. Jack shook it firmly, man to man. Then he moved to Thomas and did the same. When he got to Samuel, he crouched down to the boy's level. You like horses, Samuel? Samuel nodded, still hiding behind Thomas. Well, I got about 15 of them. Maybe you can help me take care of them. What do you say? Another nod. Smaller, but a nod nonetheless. Jack straightened, looked at Eleanor. My ranch is 5 miles west. We can walk it in 2 hours. Or I can ride back, get a wagon, pick you folks up. Your choice. We'll walk, Eleanor said. I've carried these bags this far. 2 more hours won't kill me. Fair enough. Jack remounted his horse. I'll ride ahead. Get the place ready. You just follow this road. Can't miss it. Mr. Steele. Jack. Jack. Eleanor paused. Tried to find words adequate for what he'd just done. Came up empty. Thank you. Jack touched the brim of his hat. Thank me when you see the place. It's been empty a long time. Ain't much to look at anymore. Then he spurred his horse forward and rode west. Eleanor watched him go. Then she picked up her bags, looked at her boys, and started walking. Behind them, Silver Creek sat quiet and distant. Ahead, the road stretched unknown and uncertain. But for the first time in 5 days, Eleanor felt something close to hope. They reached the Steel Ranch 2 hours later, just as Jack had predicted. Eleanor topped a small rise and stopped dead. "Sweet mercy," she whispered. The ranch spread across a valley like something out of a dream. A 2-story house, solid timber construction, wide porch, stone chimney. A barn bigger than her entire cabin had been. Corrals and outbuildings. And everywhere grass. Real grass, not the brittle dead stuff that covered most of Wyoming in autumn. There was a creek running through the property. Eleanor could hear it from here. Water meant life in this country, meant growth and possibility. "Ma," Ben breathed. "Is this real?" "I think so, baby." Eleanor started down the slope, her boys following close behind. Jack emerged from the barn as they approached. He'd removed his coat and hat. His dark hair was shot through with gray at the temples. Hard work and harder years had carved lines around his mouth and eyes. "Welcome to the Steel Ranch," he said. "Ain't as grand as it used to be, but it's solid." "It's beautiful," Eleanor said honestly. It was. When Clara was alive, she had flowers everywhere, vegetables in the garden, made the place feel like a home instead of just a house. Jack's voice went distant. "Been 4 years. I ain't kept it up like I should." Eleanor looked at the house. At the windows, dark with dust. At the porch, with weeds growing between the boards. She understood something then. Understood why Jack had offered them a place. He was as lost as they were, just in a different way. "Where should we put our things?" she asked. Jack seemed to shake himself. "Right. Second floor has 3 bedrooms. You and the youngest can take the master. The 2 older boys can share the room across the hall. I'll stay in the downstairs study." "You don't have to give up your room. I don't sleep in it anyway." Jack started toward the house. "Come on, I'll show you around." The interior matched the exterior, solid but neglected. Dust covered everything. Furniture sat under sheets. Pictures hung on the walls, but Jack had turned them to face the wood. Eleanor's fingers itched to clean, to restore, to bring life back into this place. "Kitchen's through here," Jack was saying. "Stove works. Pumps outside, but the water's good. Root cellars under the back porch. There's stores down there. Canned goods and such. Clara put them up before she—" He stopped, cleared his throat. "Before. They're still good if you want to use them." Eleanor studied him. This man who'd saved them, who was giving them shelter for reasons that had everything to do with his own ghosts, and maybe nothing to do with kindness at all. "Jack," she said, "why did you really bring us here?" He didn't answer right away. Looked out the window at something only he could see. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Because this house has been dead for 4 years, and I thought maybe—" He trailed off, shook his head. "Never mind. It was a selfish reason. If you want to leave, I'll take you to Cheyenne. Help you get set up somewhere else." "No." Eleanor surprised herself with the firmness in her voice. "No, we'll stay. If you'll have us." Jack looked at her then. Really looked. And Eleanor saw the same desperate loneliness she'd been carrying since Daniel died. The same awful certainty that the best parts of life were already over. "I'll have you," Jack said quietly. "Long as you want to stay." Behind them, Samuel's small voice broke the moment. "Can I see the horses now?" Jack smiled. The expression looked rusty on his face, like he'd forgotten how. "Yeah, little man, let's go see the horses." That first week passed in a haze of exhausted work. Eleanor scrubbed the house from top to bottom, opened windows to let out 4 years of stale air, took down the sheet-covered furniture, and revealed solid craftsmanship underneath. She found Clara Steele in every corner, embroidered pillows, carefully chosen curtains, a set of fine china wrapped in cloth and stored in a trunk. The pictures she left turned to the wall. That felt like Jack's decision to make, not hers. The boys adapted faster than she'd expected. Ben shadowed Jack everywhere, learning ranch work with the same intensity he'd learned reading from Daniel. Thomas worked with the horses in the corral, his gentle nature perfect for the skittish Mustangs Jack was breaking. And Samuel just brought joy wherever he went, laughing at baby goats, chasing chickens, chattering endlessly about things only a 5-year-old would find fascinating. Jack responded to Samuel in ways Eleanor didn't expect. Patient, attentive. The hard edges in his face softened when the boy was around. On the 7th night, Eleanor made dinner in the Steele kitchen for the first time. Nothing fancy, just beef stew and biscuits. But she set the table proper, used Clara's dishes, lit candles. When Jack came in from the barn, he stopped dead in the doorway. "What's all this dinner?" Eleanor ladled stew into bowls. "Sit down, it's getting cold." The boys were already seated, clean-faced and hungry. Jack moved to the table slowly, sat in the chair at the head like a man approaching something fragile that might shatter. They ate in silence for a while, then Samuel spoke up. "Pa used to say grace before we ate." The word "pa" hung in the air. Ben and Thomas both froze. Eleanor's throat tightened. She glanced at Jack, saw him staring at his bowl with an expression she couldn't read. "Would you like to say grace, Samuel?" Jack asked finally. The little boy nodded, folded his hands, closed his eyes. "Thank you for this food, and thank you for Mr. Jack who gave us a place to stay. And please tell Pa we miss him. Amen." "Amen," the others echoed. Eleanor couldn't eat after that, couldn't do anything but sit there with tears burning behind her eyes. Because this was her family now. These 3 boys and this broken man who'd given them shelter. This was what they had left. And somehow, it had to be enough. Later, after the boys were in bed, Eleanor found Jack on the porch. He sat on the top step, staring out at darkness, broken only by starlight. "Can I sit?" she asked. "It's your porch too now." Eleanor sat beside him. Not too close, just near enough for companionship. "Samuel shouldn't have called you that. Called you Jack, I mean. He should—" "It's fine." "It's not. I'll talk to him." "Ellie." Jack turned to look at her. "It's fine, really." They sat quiet for a moment. An owl hooted somewhere in the distance. The creek murmured its endless song. "They came by today," Jack said, "while you were inside." Eleanor's stomach clenched. "Who?" "2 of Jesse Dalton's men. Said he wants to talk. Make me an offer on this place." "What did you tell them?" "Told them I wasn't interested." Jack picked up a small piece of wood he'd been whittling. His knife moved in practiced strokes, carving something Eleanor couldn't make out in the dark. "They said Jesse wanted me to reconsider, that it would be healthier for everyone if I did." "He threatened you." "He implied consequences." Eleanor felt anger burn through her fear. "This is my fault. I brought this on you." "No." Jack's voice went hard. "Jesse Dalton brought this on himself. Has been for years. Your husband was just the latest in a long line of people who got in his way." He looked at her. "Did Daniel ever tell you what he found on your land?" "He said it was silver, a big vein, enough to set us up for life." Eleanor's hands clenched in her lap. "He was so excited. Kept talking about all the things we'd do, the life we'd give the boys. And then he went out to check the vein again, make sure he'd measured it right. He took his horse and his tools and—" She couldn't finish. "And Cole Mason went with him." Eleanor's head snapped up. "How did you know that—" "Because I know Cole. Worked with him years back when I was still marshalling. He was a decent man once, before Jesse got his hooks in." Jack set down his knife and wood. "Did they ever find Daniel's horse?" "No. Why?" Because a man as experienced as your husband don't just fall off a horse. Not on easy terrain. Not in good weather. Jack stood. I think someone spooked that horse. Maybe cut the saddle girth. Something to make sure Daniel went down hard enough to die from it. Eleanor rose slowly. You think Cole murdered Daniel? I think Jesse Dalton ordered it and Cole carried it out. Can't prove it. But I know it in my gut. He turned to face her. Which means you need to know something, Ellie. Having you here puts you in danger. Puts your boys in danger. Jesse won't stop until he gets what he wants. And right now, you're in his way. So what do you suggest? Eleanor asked. We leave go back to running. I suggest we fight. The words hung between them. Eleanor looked at this man who'd been a stranger 7 days ago, who was still a stranger in so many ways, but who'd given them sanctuary when no one else would. How? She asked. I'll show you tomorrow. Jack moved toward the door. Get some sleep, Ellie. We got hard work ahead. Jack. Eleanor waited until he looked back. Thank you for telling me the truth. Always, he said. Then he disappeared inside. Eleanor stood on the porch for a long time after, staring out at the dark land, at the stars scattered like diamonds across black velvet. Somewhere out there, Jesse Dalton sat in his comfortable house, making plans to take everything Jack had. But Jack was right. They were done running. It was time to fight back. Dawn came cold and Eleanor woke to the sound of hammering. She dressed quickly, checked on the boys still sleeping, then went downstairs. Jack was in the barn working on something she couldn't see from the doorway. You're up early, she said. Jack didn't stop hammering. Got a lot to do. 3 more strikes, then he set down the hammer and turned. Come here. I want to show you something. Eleanor walked into the barn. Jack had cleared a space near the back wall and laid out papers across a workbench. Maps, documents, photographs. What is all this evidence? Jack pointed to the first document. This is the deed to your land. Original filing 1871. Daniel Harrison sole owner. No mortgage, no liens, nothing. Eleanor's breath caught. Where did you get this? County Records Office in Cheyenne. Rode there yesterday while you were cleaning. Jack moved to the next paper. This is the foreclosure notice Cole served you. Dated 5 days after Daniel died. Claims he owed Jesse Dalton's bank $300. He didn't owe anyone anything. I know. Jack's finger traced down the document. Look at the signature. Bank manager's supposed to sign these, but this one's signed by Jesse himself. That ain't proper procedure. Eleanor studied the papers. Her hands shook. What does it mean? Means the foreclosure's fraudulent. Means Jesse forged documents to steal your land. Jack pulled out another paper. And this is a geological survey from last year. Shows a silver vein running under 3 properties. Yours, the Patterson place, and the old Tucker Ranch. I don't know those names. You wouldn't. Harold Patterson died 2 years ago. Hunting accident, they said. Found at the bottom of a ravine with his neck broke. Jack's voice went flat. His widow couldn't keep up the mortgage. Bank foreclosed. Jesse owns that land now. Eleanor felt sick. And Tucker. Thomas Tucker. Died cleaning his gun supposedly, but Thomas was the best shot in 2 counties. Handled firearms since he was 6 years old. Jack met her eyes. His brother Sam never believed it. Neither did I. How many? Eleanor whispered. How many people has Jesse killed for this silver? Can't prove he killed anyone. That's the problem. Jack gathered the papers carefully. But I count 5 deaths in 3 years. All on land with silver deposits. All ruled accidents. All properties now owned by Jesse Dalton. Eleanor leaned against the workbench. Her legs felt weak. Daniel was number 5. Yeah. And you think Cole did it? Actually murdered them? Jack nodded slowly. Cole's Jesse's man. Has been for years. Jesse pays, Cole acts. Simple as that. Then we take this to the law. Show them the evidence. Ellie. Jack's tone was gentle. Cole is the law. He's the deputy. The sheriff's office is in Jesse's pocket. The judge gets campaign contributions from Jesse's bank. There's no one to take this to. Eleanor pushed off the workbench, started pacing. Then what's the point? Why show me all this if we can't do anything with it? I didn't say we can't do anything. I said we can't go through official channels. Jack crossed his arms. But there's other ways to fight. What ways? First, we make copies of everything, send them to newspapers in Cheyenne and Denver, get the story out where Jesse can't control it. Jack counted off on his fingers. Second, we find witnesses, people who saw things, knew things, were too scared to talk before. And third, Jack's expression hardened. Third, we bait Jesse into making a mistake. Force him to act openly. Get him on something we can prove. Eleanor stopped pacing. That's dangerous. Everything's dangerous now. My boys, we'll be safer if we end this than if we run. Jack moved closer. Jesse won't stop Ellie. He'll keep coming. Keep taking. Keep killing. Your boys won't be safe anywhere as long as he's free to operate. Eleanor knew he was right. Hated that he was right. What do you need me to do? Can you shoot? Daniel taught me. Good. Get comfortable with it again. Jack moved to a cabinet in the corner, pulled out 2 rifles and a shotgun. These are loaded. Keep one in the house, one in the barn. Stay armed at all times. Eleanor took the rifle he offered. The weight felt familiar, steadying. You think Jesse will come here? I know he will. When? Soon. Jack loaded the shotgun, checked the action. He sent men yesterday to make an offer. I refused. Next step is intimidation. After that, he didn't finish. Eleanor didn't need him to. She understood what came after intimidation. Violence. The barn door creaked. Both of them spun, weapons raising. Ben stood in the doorway, eyes wide. Ma, Mr. Jack, what's happening? Eleanor lowered the rifle. Just being careful, honey. Careful of what? Jack set down his shotgun. Ben, come here. The boy approached slowly. Jack gestured for him to sit on a hay bale. Eleanor joined them, her rifle across her knees. You're 11, Jack said. That's old enough to know the truth. Your pa didn't die in an accident. Ben's face went pale. What do you mean? I mean someone killed him. Made it look like he fell from his horse, but it was murder. Who? Ben's voice broke. Who killed my pa? Man named Jesse Dalton. He wanted your land. Your pa wouldn't sell, so Jesse had him killed. Ben stood up fast. Then we go kill Jesse. Right now. No, Jack's voice was iron. We don't kill anyone. We bring him to justice. Justice? Ben laughed bitterly. Like the justice that drove us off our land. Like the justice that made us walk out of town with nothing. Ben? Eleanor reached for him. He jerked away. Pa's dead, Ma. Dead because some rich man wanted our property. And you want to talk about justice. I want to talk about not becoming a murderer. Jack stood. You kill Jesse in cold blood, you hang. Or you spend your life running. That what you want to throw away everything your pa died for. Pa died for nothing. The words echoed in the barn. Ben's chest heaved. Tears streamed down his face. He died for nothing, and now we got nothing. And it ain't fair. Eleanor pulled him close even though he fought her. Held him while he sobbed into her shoulder. Over his head, she met Jack's eyes. I'll teach him to shoot, Jack said quietly. Teach him to defend himself, but that's all. Understood? Eleanor nodded. She understood. Understood that her eldest son was carrying rage that would eat him alive if she didn't help him direct it somewhere useful. Go get your brothers, she told Ben. It's time they learned too. Ben pulled back, wiping his eyes. Learned what? How to protect this family. Something shifted in the boy's face. The grief was still there, raw and awful. But underneath it, Eleanor saw determination. saw Daniel's stubborn strength reflected in their son's eyes. "Yes, ma'am," Ben said. He ran from the barn. Jack watched him go, then looked at Eleanor. "You sure about this?" "No." Eleanor checked her rifle again. "But I'm done being helpless. Done letting other people decide whether my family lives or dies." She met his gaze. "You said we fight, so let's fight." Jack nodded once. Respect flickered across his face. "All right then, let's get started." The morning passed in hard lessons. Jack taught the boys how to hold a rifle properly, how to sight down the barrel, how to breathe and squeeze, not pull the trigger. Thomas had natural talent for it. His gentle patience with horses translated to shooting. Ben was all raw aggression, jerking the trigger, flinching at the recoil. Jack worked with him patiently until the boy started to get it. Even Samuel got a lesson in basic safety. How to tell if a gun was loaded. How to carry one without pointing it at people. The 5-year-old took it seriously, in the way only small children can, his face solemn as Jack explained each rule. Eleanor watched from the porch, watched her babies learn to be soldiers. It broke something in her, made her hate Jesse Dalton with a purity that scared her. "Mama," Samuel called. "Did you see? I know all the rules now." "I saw, baby." Eleanor forced a smile. "You did real good. Can I shoot next?" "When you're bigger." "That's what Pa always said." Samuel's face fell. "But Pa ain't here no more." Thomas put an arm around his little brother. "Come on, Sammy. Let's go check on the horses." The two boys walked toward the barn. Ben stayed behind reloading his rifle, with movements that were getting smoother. "You're getting better," Jack said. "I want to be the best." "Why?" Ben looked up. His young face was hard, old. "So next time someone comes for my family, I can stop them." Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Your pa would be proud of you." "My pa's dead." "Doesn't mean he can't be proud." Ben's hand stilled on the rifle. "You think he's watching from wherever dead people go? I think if there's any kind of justice in the universe, then yeah, he's watching." Jack took the rifle gently. "And I think he'd want you to be careful. Smart, not reckless." "I ain't reckless." "You're angry. Angry makes people reckless." Jack set the rifle against the porch rail. "When I was marshalling, I saw a lot of young men get themselves killed because they were too angry to think straight. Don't be one of them." Ben was quiet. Then, "Did you lose people when you were a marshal?" "Yeah." "Who?" Jack's jaw tightened. "Men I worked with. Friends. My wife and daughter, though that wasn't the job's fault. That was mine." "How?" "I wasn't there when they needed me." Jack's voice went rough. "Was off chasing an outlaw who didn't matter. Got home 3 days too late." Ben processed this. "That why you helped us, because you couldn't help them?" "Maybe." Jack looked at the boy. "Or maybe I just couldn't stand by and watch another family get destroyed when I had the power to stop it." "You think we can stop Jesse?" "I think we can try." Eleanor listened to this exchange from the porch. Listened to Jack give her son something she couldn't, a father's guidance. It made her ache. Made her grateful. Made her terrified of how much they were already depending on this man they barely knew. A sound cut through her thoughts. Hoofbeats. Multiple riders coming fast. "Jack," she said. He heard it too. "Boys, inside, now." Thomas and Samuel were already running from the barn. Ben grabbed his rifle. Eleanor pulled him toward the house as 6 riders crested the rise. They weren't trying to hide their approach. Weren't trying to be subtle. They rode straight for the house at a gallop, splitting into 2 groups that circled the property. Jack had his rifle up. "Stay behind me." The riders pulled up 30 feet away. Dust settled. Eleanor recognized 2 of them from town, Frank Miller and Joe Peterson, men who'd once been friendly with Daniel. Now they sat their horses with hard faces and harder intentions. The man in the middle was new, tall, lean, dressed in black from hat to boots. He had the look of someone who killed for money and slept fine afterward. "Jackson Steele," the man in black called out. "Been a long time." "Not long enough, Reese." Jack's voice was level. "What do you want?" "Just delivering a message." Reese shifted in his saddle. "Mr. Dalton wants to have a conversation. Invited you to come to town tomorrow, noon, his office. Tell Mr. Dalton if he wants to talk, he can come here." "That ain't how this works." "Then I guess we got nothing to talk about." Reese smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Mr. Dalton also wanted me to mention that it'd be a shame if something happened to this nice ranch of yours. Accidents happen, you know. Fires start, animals get loose." His gaze drifted to the barn. "Be real unfortunate if them horses got spooked some night, ran off, got hurt." Jack's rifle didn't waver. "You threatening me, Reese?" "Just painting a picture." Reese looked past Jack at Eleanor and the boys. "Pretty woman, nice kids. Shame they got caught up in business that don't concern them." Eleanor stepped forward before Jack could stop her. "This concerns us plenty. Jesse Dalton killed my husband, stole my land. We're not leaving. We're not backing down, and you can tell him that." Reese's smile widened. "You got yourself a fiery one, Steele. I like that." He tipped his hat to Eleanor. "Ma'am, you should know that Mr. Dalton don't like being told no. Makes him irritable. And when he gets irritable, people tend to get hurt." "Get off my land," Jack said. "We're leaving. Just wanted to make sure the message was clear." Reese gathered his reins. "Tomorrow, noon. Mr. Dalton's office. Don't keep him waiting." The 6 riders turned and galloped away, kicking up dust and leaving a wake of threat behind them. Jack didn't lower his rifle until they were out of sight. Then he turned to Eleanor. "Get the boys inside. Pack essentials. If things go wrong tomorrow, I want you ready to run." "I'm not running." "Ellie." "I said I'm not running." Eleanor's voice was steel. "You go meet Jesse tomorrow. I'm going with you." "Absolutely not." "It's not your choice." She moved closer. "This is my fight, Jack. My husband. My land. I got just as much right to face Jesse as you do." "And who watches the boys if we're both in town?" Eleanor opened her mouth, closed it. She hadn't thought of that. "Exactly." Jack softened his tone. "I need you here, keeping them safe." "Can you do that?" Every instinct screamed at Eleanor to refuse, to demand her place in this confrontation. But she looked at her sons. Ben standing tall with his rifle. Thomas with his arm around Samuel, all 3 watching her with fear they were trying to hide. "All right," she said. "I'll stay. But Jack, if you don't come back?" "I'll come back." "You can't promise that." "No." Jack met her eyes. "But I can promise I'll do everything in my power to make sure Jesse Dalton doesn't hurt anyone else. Ever." That night, Eleanor couldn't sleep. She lay in Clara Steele's bed, the bed of a dead woman whose husband was downstairs preparing to face down a killer. The window was open. She could hear Jack moving around in the study, heard the scrape of furniture, the rustle of papers. Finally, she gave up on sleep, went downstairs in her nightgown and wrapper, found Jack at the desk with maps spread out again. "You should rest," she said. "Can't." He didn't look up. "I'm trying to figure out Jesse's next move." Eleanor sat in the chair across from him. "What do you think he'll do?" "Depends on how desperate he is." Jack traced a line on the map. "If he just wants me gone, he'll make threats, try to buy me out, maybe send more men to cause trouble. And if he's more desperate, then he'll try to kill me." The words sat heavy between them. Eleanor pulled her wrapper tighter. "Maybe you shouldn't go." "I have to." "Why? Why do you have to be the one?" Jack finally looked at her. His eyes were shadowed, haunted. "Because I've spent 4 years hiding on this ranch, hiding from the world, hiding from myself. Your husband didn't have that choice. Patterson didn't. Tucker didn't. They died because no one stood up to Jesse. He paused. I can stand up, so I will. That's not your responsibility. Maybe not, but it's my choice. Jack leaned back. You asked me yesterday why I really brought you here. Truth is, I was dying in this house. Dying slow. When I saw you on that road with your boys, something in me woke up. Something that had been asleep since Clara and Lily died. What? Purpose. Jack's voice roughened. I've been walking around like a ghost for 4 years. But you needed help. Those boys needed a chance. And for the first time since I lost my family, I felt like maybe I could do something that mattered. Eleanor felt tears sting her eyes. Jack? Don't. He held up a hand. I'm not looking for thanks or sympathy. I'm just telling you why I can't back down tomorrow. Because if I do, then what was the point? What's the point of any of it? Eleanor stood, walked around the desk. Jack looked up at her, confusion on his face. She bent down and kissed his forehead. Gentle, brief. Come back, she whispered. Whatever happens tomorrow, you come back to us. Jack's hand came up, touched hers. I will. Eleanor left him there with his maps and his plans, went back upstairs. This time she slept, dreamed of Daniel standing in a field of gold. He was smiling, waving goodbye. When she woke, sunlight streamed through the window and Jack was already gone. Eleanor found a note on the kitchen table. Took the boys fishing at the creek, back by 9. Stay close to the house. J. She made coffee, checked the rifle Jack had left leaning by the door. Loaded, ready. The shotgun was in the bedroom. Another rifle in the barn. Jack had turned their refuge into a fortress. The boys came back at 9 exactly, laughing and carrying 3 trout. Samuel chattered about the fish he'd almost caught. Thomas showed her his technique. Ben was quieter, but his eyes kept drifting to Jack. Noon, Ben said finally. That's when you go right. Jack nodded. That's when I go. I want to come with you. No. I can help. I can... No. Jack's voice was firm. Your job is here. Protecting your mother and brothers. That clear? Ben's jaw clenched, but he nodded. Jack looked at Eleanor. I left instructions with Martha Chen. If I'm not back by nightfall, she'll come get you. Take you to Cheyenne. Jack. Just in case. He pulled on his coat, checked his guns. 2 revolvers, 1 rifle. He looked like what he used to be. A lawman, a fighter. Be careful, Eleanor said. Jack nodded once. Then he mounted his horse and rode toward Silver Creek. The hours crawled. Eleanor tried to keep busy, cleaned what was already clean, cooked food no one would eat. The boys sensed her tension and stayed quiet. Even Samuel stopped chattering. Noon came and went. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. At 3, Ben spoke up. Something's wrong. He said nightfall, Eleanor replied. We wait. Ma, we wait. But her hands shook as she poured coffee. Her eyes kept drifting to the window, to the road that led to town. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Shadows lengthened. The sun touched the western horizon. Eleanor stood on the porch, rifle in hand, staring at empty road. He ain't coming back, Ben said behind her. Don't say that. Ma, it's almost dark. If he was coming back, he'd be here by now. Eleanor wanted to argue, wanted to believe, but fear had her by the throat. Then Samuel shouted, Mama, someone's coming. Eleanor spun. A rider approached, not alone. 2 horses, one carrying a man, the other being led. Jack. Eleanor ran. Didn't care about dignity or caution, just ran down the road toward him. He was slumped in the saddle. Blood soaked his right shoulder. His face was pale, but his eyes were open. I'm all right, he said before she could ask. It's not deep. What happened? Jesse tried to make me an offer. I declined. His man Reese took exception. Jack swung down from his horse, stumbled, caught himself. Got him worse than he got me. He'll live, unfortunately. Eleanor got under his good shoulder, helped him toward the house. The boys ran to meet them. Ben took Jack's other side. Together they got him inside. Thomas, boil water, Eleanor commanded. Samuel, get blankets. Ben, help me get his coat off. Jack sat heavily at the kitchen table. It's really not that bad. Shut up. Eleanor cut away his shirt. The bullet had gone clean through the meat of his shoulder. Missed bone, missed major vessels, but it was bleeding freely. What did Jesse say? Said he'd pay me $20,000 for the ranch. When I refused, he said I had 24 hours to reconsider. Jack winced as Eleanor pressed a cloth to the wound. Then Reese and I had our discussion. Discussion. He drew first. I was faster. Jack met her eyes. I didn't kill him. Could have. Probably should have. But I didn't. Why not? Because you and the boys were here waiting. Because I didn't want to be the man who started a war that might end with them getting hurt. Jack's jaw clenched as Eleanor cleaned the wound. I warned Reese that if Jesse sends anyone else, I won't be so merciful. Eleanor didn't respond, just worked methodically, cleaned the entry and exit wounds, bandaged them tight. Her hands were steady, even though her heart was racing. You're good at this, Jack observed. Daniel got hurt enough times. I learned. Eleanor tied off the bandage. You should rest. Can't. We got work to do. Jack, you're injured. And we got 24 hours before Jesse escalates. Jack stood steadier now. I need you to ride to the Chen place. Tell Martha what happened. See if she can get word to the sheriff in Cheyenne. The real sheriff, not Cole. Real sheriff. County jurisdiction. If we're lucky, he'll come investigate Jesse's operation. Jack moved to the window. And Ellie, tell Martha to spread the word. Anyone who's lost property to Jesse. Anyone who's been threatened. We're having a meeting, tomorrow night. Here. A meeting for what? Jack turned to face her. Blood stained his bandage. Pain lined his face. But his eyes were clear. Determined. To form a resistance, he said. It's time the people of Silver Creek fought back. Eleanor rode hard through the twilight, her horse's hooves pounding rhythm into dirt that had seen too much blood already. The boys had protested when she left, but Jack needed her to do this. Needed someone Jesse didn't expect to carry his message. Martha Chen's place sat at the edge of town, a modest house with a saloon attached. Eleanor tied her horse and knocked. No answer. She knocked harder. The door cracked open. Martha's face appeared, eyes widening, when she saw who stood there. Eleanor Harrison. Sweet mercy, girl, what are you doing here? I need your help. Eleanor pushed inside without waiting for invitation. Jack's been shot. We need to get word to the county sheriff in Cheyenne. Martha closed the door fast. Shot by who? Man named Reese. Works for Jesse Dalton. Lord have mercy. Martha moved to the window, peered through the curtains. Jesse, know you're here. Don't know. Don't care. Eleanor grabbed Martha's arm. We're forming a resistance. Everyone who's been hurt by Jesse. Everyone who's lost family or land. Jack wants a meeting tomorrow night at his ranch. Martha's face went pale. Eleanor, that's suicide. Jesse will kill everyone who shows up. He's already killing us, one at a time, quietly, so nobody fights back. Eleanor's voice rose. My husband is dead, Martha. Your nephew is dead. How many more before someone stands up? I stood up. Martha's eyes filled with tears. I tried to get people to listen after Timothy died. Nobody would hear it. They were too scared. What about now? Are they still too scared? Martha was quiet for a long moment. Then she straightened her shoulders. I'll spread the word. But Eleanor, you need to understand something. Most folks in Silver Creek got families to protect, jobs to keep. They won't risk it all on a maybe. Then we find the ones who will. Eleanor moved toward the door. Tomorrow night, spread the word. She was reaching for the handle when it burst open. Cole Mason stood in the doorway, hand on his gun. "Mrs. Harrison?" What a surprise. Eleanor's heart stopped. She'd left her rifle with the horse. Had only a small derringer Daniel had given her hidden in her dress pocket. Against Cole's Colt, it was nothing. "Deputy?" She forced her voice steady. "I was just visiting Martha." At night, alone, right after Jack Steele shot Jesse's man. Cole stepped inside. "That's mighty interesting timing." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you—" Cole closed the door behind him. "See, I heard Reese rode out to Steele's place this afternoon. Heard he came back bleeding. And now you're in town sneaking around after dark." Martha moved between them. "Cole, leave her alone. She ain't done nothing wrong." "That's not for you to decide." Cole's eyes never left Eleanor. "Jesse wants to see you, Mrs. Harrison. Right now." "I'm not going anywhere with you." Cole's hand moved to his gun. "Wasn't asking." Eleanor's fingers found the derringer in her pocket. Small comfort. She looked at Martha, saw the older woman's face tight with fear and helplessness. "All right," Eleanor said. "I'll go." "Eleanor, no," Martha started. "It's fine." Eleanor squeezed Martha's hand once, hard, hoping the woman understood, hoping she'd get word to Jack. "I'll be fine." Cole grabbed her arm, not gentle, marched her out into the street. His horse was tied nearby. He lifted Eleanor onto the saddle mounted behind her. "Where's my horse?" she asked. "You won't be needing it." They rode through Silver Creek's empty streets, past the general store where Joe Peterson had once smiled at Daniel, past the church where Reverend Silas had rushed through her husband's funeral, past homes with windows glowing warm and safe while Eleanor rode toward something that felt like an ending. Jesse Dalton's house sat on the hill overlooking town. 3 stories of white-painted wood and expensive glass. Cole dismounted, hauled Eleanor down, pushed her toward the front door. Inside was warmth and light and the smell of good food. A maid took Eleanor's coat without meeting her eyes. Cole gripped her elbow, steered her down a hallway to a study lined with books that had probably never been read. Jesse Dalton stood by the fireplace. He was 52, but looked younger. Well-fed, well-dressed. Everything about him screamed money and power. "Mrs. Harrison." His voice was smooth, pleasant. "Thank you for coming." "Didn't have much choice." "No, I suppose you didn't." Jesse gestured to a chair. "Please sit. Can I offer you tea, brandy?" "I don't want anything from you." Jesse's smile tightened. "You already took something from me. My patience, my generosity. I offered to help you after your husband's unfortunate accident. Offered you time to get your affairs in order. And how do you repay me? By not rolling over and dying. By running to Jackson Steele." Jesse moved closer. "Do you know what kind of man Steele is, Mrs. Harrison? What he's done? I know he's helped my family when nobody else would. He's helped himself to a woman and 3 boys he can use as shields." Jesse's tone turned hard. "Steele was a U.S. Marshal. Did he tell you that? Did he tell you how many men he killed? 27, Mrs. Harrison. 27 confirmed deaths in 6 years of service." Eleanor's stomach turned. She hadn't known the number, hadn't asked. "He was doing his job," she said. "Was he?" Jesse pulled a folder from his desk. "Because according to these records, 12 of those men were shot in the back. Another 6 died in circumstances the territorial court found questionable." He tossed the folder at her feet. "Your protector is a killer, Mrs. Harrison. A man who lost his family because he was too busy murdering outlaws to be home when they needed him. That's not true. Isn't it? Ask him. Ask him where he was when his wife and daughter died." Jesse leaned against his desk. Clara Steele wrote letters to the marshal's office, begging them to send her husband home. She was sick. The child was sick. They needed help. And where was Jackson Steele? Eleanor didn't answer. Couldn't. "He was in Denver." Jesse continued. Drinking in a saloon. Had been for 3 days when his family died. Abandoned them, Mrs. Harrison. Just like he'll abandon you when things get difficult. You don't know that. I know men like him. They're users. Takers. They find vulnerable women and exploit them. Jesse's voice softened, turned almost kind. I'm trying to help you see that before you make a terrible mistake. Eleanor stood. Her legs shook, but she forced them steady. You murdered my husband. The words hung in the warm study. Jesse's expression didn't change. That's a serious accusation. Daniel found silver on our land. You wanted it. He refused to sell. So you had Cole kill him and forged documents to steal our property. Eleanor's voice gained strength. How many others, Jesse? How many people have you killed for this town you're building? None. Jesse's tone was matter of fact. I haven't killed anyone, Mrs. Harrison. I'm a businessman. I buy property. I develop resources. I provide jobs and stability to this community. You're a murderer. Prove it. Jesse smiled. Go ahead. Show me evidence. Bring me witnesses. Take me to trial. He spread his hands. You can't. Because there is no evidence. No witnesses. Just the desperate accusations of a grieving widow who's been manipulated by a violent drunk. Eleanor's hand found her pocket, found the derringer. Her fingers closed around cold metal. Don't. Cole's voice came from behind her. She'd forgotten he was there. Mrs. Harrison, I see you reaching for that gun. I'll put a bullet in your spine before you clear the pocket. Eleanor's hand stilled. Slowly, she withdrew it. Empty. Smart, Jesse said. See, this is what I'm trying to avoid. Violence. Bloodshed. I'm a reasonable man, Mrs. Harrison. I don't want anyone else to get hurt. Then leave us alone. I can't do that. You're on Steele's property. His property borders mine. That makes you a threat to my interests. Jesse moved to the window. But I'm willing to make you an offer. A generous one. I don't want your money. Not money. Safety. Jesse turned to face her. You and your boys can stay in Silver Creek. I'll even give you work. The general store needs help. You'd have a steady income. A place to live. Your boys would grow up here surrounded by community. In exchange for what? You leave Steele's ranch. Today. Tonight. You tell him thanks for the help, but you're done. You go back to being a widow raising her boys. No more talk of resistance. No more accusations. Just a quiet life. Eleanor looked at this man who'd killed Daniel, who was offering her everything she'd wanted a week ago. Security, stability, a future for her sons. All she had to do was betray the man who'd saved them. No, she said. Jesse's face hardened. Think carefully, Mrs. Harrison. I don't need to think. Eleanor moved toward the door. You killed my husband. You can dress it up with pretty words and business talk, but that don't change what you are. You're a murderer, and I'll prove it. You'll die trying. Maybe. Eleanor opened the door, looked back. But at least I'll die fighting instead of living on my knees. She walked out. Cole followed, grabbed her arm again. You're making a mistake, he said quietly. So are you. Eleanor looked at him, really looked, saw the lines of guilt around his mouth, the shadows in his eyes. You were a good man once, Cole. What happened? Cole's grip loosened slightly. Life happened, Mrs. Harrison. Bills happened. A sick son happened. Jesse was there with money when nobody else would help. So you sold your soul. I saved my boy. Cole's voice broke. Timothy's alive because Jesse paid for doctors I couldn't afford. You tell me I was wrong for that. Tell me you wouldn't do the same for your sons. Eleanor pulled free of his grip. I would never murder for them. You say that now. Wait till they're dying and you got no choices left. Cole stepped back. Go on, get out of here before Jesse changes his mind about letting you walk out. Eleanor didn't wait. She ran through the house, out the front door, down the hill toward Martha's place. Her horse was still there. She mounted and rode. The ranch was dark when she arrived. Panic seized her until she saw movement in the barn. Jack emerged, rifle in hand, good arm raised. "Ellie!" She nearly fell off the horse. Jack caught her with his good arm, pulled her close. "What happened?" "Martha sent word you'd been taken to Jesse's. He wanted to make me an offer." Eleanor was shaking. "Wanted me to leave you, to stop fighting." "What did you say?" "I told him no." Eleanor pulled back to look at Jack's face. "He told me things about you. About your time as a marshal." Jack went still. "What kind of things?" "That you killed 27 men. That 12 were shot in the back. That you abandoned your family to drink in Denver while they died." Eleanor's voice shook. "Is any of that true?" Jack was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was raw. "Most of it. Yeah." Eleanor felt something crack inside her. "Which parts?" "I killed 27 men in 6 years. Some were clean fights, some weren't. There were times I crossed lines a lawman shouldn't cross." Jack met her eyes. "And I was in Denver when Clara and Lily died. I'd been tracking an outlaw for 3 weeks. Caught him. Put him in jail. And instead of riding home, I stayed in town. Drank. Celebrated. Told myself I'd earned it." "Your wife wrote letters." "I know. I got them after it was too late." Jack's face twisted. Every word was a knife. Every sentence reminded me that I'd put the job ahead of my family, that I'd chosen hunting bad men over being home with good people. Eleanor stepped back. Her chest hurt. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I'm ashamed." Jack's voice broke. "Because I wake up every morning hating myself for what I did, for who I was. And when you showed up on that road with your boys, I saw a chance to maybe make up for some of it, to be the man I should have been 4 years ago." "You think helping us absolves you?" "No." Jack shook his head. "Nothing absolves what I did, but maybe it means I'm not completely lost. Maybe it means I can still do something that matters." Eleanor wanted to rage at him, to scream, to ride away and never look back. But she looked at his face and saw genuine anguish, saw a man drowning in guilt that would never let him surface. "Those men you killed," she said, "did they deserve it?" "Some did. Some—" Jack hesitated. "Some were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Some were kids who made bad choices. I didn't always give them chances they deserved. And the ones shot in the back were running. I shot to stop them. Sometimes that meant a bullet in the back." Jack's jaw clenched. "I ain't proud of it. But I ain't gonna lie to you either. You want to know who I was? I was a man who believed the law was more important than mercy. Who thought catching outlaws justified any method. Who lost sight of why I became a marshal in the first place. Which was what? To protect people." Jack's voice softened. "To make sure families like mine could sleep safe at night. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that. Became the thing I was supposed to stop." Eleanor processed this, felt her anger war with understanding, with the knowledge that people were complicated, that good men did bad things, that redemption was possible even for those who didn't deserve it. "The boys are inside," she asked finally. "Yeah, they're asleep." "And tomorrow night, the meeting. Is that still happening?" Jack nodded. "Martha spread the word. We'll see who shows up." "Jesse said you'd abandon us when things got hard." "Jesse says a lot of things." "Will you—" Eleanor met his eyes. "When bullets start flying, when people start dying, will you run like you did before?" Jack was quiet. Then he said, "I can't promise I won't fail you, Ellie. Can't promise I'll be the hero you need. But I can promise I'll stay. I'll fight. And I won't leave you or those boys to face Jesse alone." "That's not enough." "It's all I got." Eleanor looked at this broken man who'd given them shelter, who'd taught her sons to shoot, who'd stood up to Jesse when nobody else would. He was flawed, damaged, haunted by ghosts that would never let him rest. But he was here. "All right," she said. "Tomorrow night. We see who comes. We see if this town has any fight left in it." Jack nodded once. Then he turned and walked back to the barn, favoring his injured shoulder. Eleanor stood in the darkness listening to night sounds. Crickets, distant coyotes, the whisper of wind through grass that would grow over all of them eventually. She thought of Daniel, wondered if he'd forgive her for trusting another man so soon, for bringing their boys into danger, for choosing to fight instead of run. But Daniel had died fighting. Died because he'd refused to back down. Maybe that was answer enough. The next day crawled past with terrible slowness. Eleanor cleaned obsessively. The boys sensed something was coming and stayed close. Jack spent the morning checking weapons, preparing the barn for a meeting that might not happen. At noon, a rider came. Eleanor's heart seized until she recognized the horse. Martha Chen dismounted stiffly. 17 people, Martha said without preamble. 17 said they'd come tonight. Maybe more, maybe less, depending on who loses their nerve. Jack helped her down. "That's more than I expected. Don't get excited. Most of them are old, or scared, or both." Martha looked at Eleanor. "You all right? After last night?" "I'm fine. Cole told me what you said to Jesse, about proving he's a murderer." Martha shook her head. "Girl, you got more courage than sense. Or just less to lose than everyone else." Martha's expression softened. "Maybe. But courage is courage however it comes." As evening approached, people began to arrive. Sam Tucker came first, riding a horse too old for hard work. He was 70 if he was a day, but his eyes were sharp and angry. "My brother Thomas," he said by way of greeting. "Jesse took him from me. I want justice." Next came Frank and Beth Miller. They brought their teenage son, a boy who looked terrified but determined. Then Reverend Silas Harper. Eleanor was shocked to see him. "I know I wasn't there when you needed me," Silas said, shame coloring his voice. "I'm here now, if you'll have me." More came. The Patterson widow, Joe Peterson from the general store, a handful of ranchers from the outer territories who'd heard rumors of resistance and wanted in. By the time darkness fell, 23 people crowded into Jack's barn. 23 against Jesse Dalton's army of hired guns. Jack stood before them, his injured shoulder bandaged, but his voice strong. "Thank you all for coming. I know what it cost you to be here." "Get on with it, Steele," Sam Tucker growled. "What's your plan?" "My plan is simple. We gather evidence. We find witnesses. We build a case against Jesse Dalton that's so strong even his pet deputy can't ignore it." "And if that don't work?" Frank Miller asked. "Then we fight." Murmurs ran through the crowd, fear, excitement, resignation. "Jesse's got 30 men," Joe Peterson said. "Maybe more. We can't beat those odds." "We don't have to beat them. We just have to make the cost too high." Jack moved to a map he'd hung on the wall. "Jesse's operation depends on 3 things: his bank, his mine, and his reputation. We hit all 3. "How?" Eleanor asked. "Bank first. We get people to withdraw their money, spread rumors about Jesse's stability, make depositors nervous." Jack pointed to different locations on the map. "Then we go after the mine. Nothing violent. Just make it hard to operate. Equipment breaks down. Workers have accidents. Production slows." "That's sabotage," Reverend Silas said. "That's war." Jack's voice was hard. "Jesse started this. We're just finishing it." "And his reputation?" Martha asked. "We expose him. Every death, every stolen property, every bribe and threat." Jack looked around the barn. "We make Jesse Dalton's name poison in Wyoming territory." Sam Tucker stood. I'm in. Whatever it takes. Others rose. Slowly at first, then faster. One by one, 23 people pledged to fight. Eleanor felt hope bloom in her chest. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but they were no longer alone. That's when the barn door crashed open. Cole Mason stood in the doorway, gun drawn. Behind him, 6 deputies. Behind them, torches. "Meeting's over," Cole said. "You're all under arrest for conspiracy to commit sabotage and attempted murder." Eleanor's blood froze. Attempted murder. "Jesse Dalton was attacked tonight," Cole continued. "Shot at in his own home. We got witnesses say it was people from this meeting." "That's impossible," Jack said. "Everyone here has been here for the past 2 hours." "That's what you say. Jesse says different." Cole gestured with his gun. "Now you all got a choice. Come peaceful, or we burn this barn down with you in it." Eleanor looked at Jack, saw him calculating odds, saw him realize they'd been outplayed. Jesse had known about the meeting, had planned for it, and now he was using it to destroy them all at once. "We'll come," Jack said quietly. "Smart man." Cole motioned to his deputies. "Get them in irons." As rough hands grabbed Eleanor, dragging her toward the door, she looked back at Jack one last time. Their eyes met across the chaos. And in that moment, she understood. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of the real fight. The Silver Creek jail was built for 6 prisoners. Cole crammed 23 people into cells, meant for a third that number. Eleanor found herself pressed against Martha Chen and the Patterson widow, in a space barely wide enough to turn around. The smell of fear and sweat was suffocating. "My boys," Eleanor gasped, pushing toward the bars. "Cole, where are my boys?" Cole stood in the corridor, his face unreadable. "They're at the Steel Ranch, under guard. If Jesse touches them." "He won't. They're just kids." Cole met her eyes. "You got my word on that." "Your word." Eleanor laughed bitterly. "What's that worth?" Cole flinched, but didn't answer. He walked away, leaving them in darkness, broken only by a single lamp. Jack was in the cell across from her. Eleanor could see him through the bars, his injured shoulder pressed against the wall, his face tight with pain and fury. "We walked right into it," Sam Tucker said from somewhere in the darkness. "Jesse knew we were meeting, knew exactly where to find us." "Someone talked," Frank Miller added. "Or Jesse's just smart." Jack's voice was low. "He's been doing this for years. He knows how people think, knows how to stay ahead." "So what do we do now?" Reverend Silas asked. "We wait," Jack said. "See what Jesse's next move is." They didn't have to wait long. At dawn, Cole returned with Jesse Dalton himself. Jesse looked fresh and well-rested, like a man who'd slept sound knowing his enemies were caged. "Good morning," Jesse said pleasantly. "I trust you all had an uncomfortable night." That was the point. "What do you want, Dalton?" Jack asked. "I want peace. I want this town to go back to being productive instead of festering with rebellion." Jesse walked along the cells, looking at each face. "But most of all, I want you people to understand something. I own Silver Creek, the land, the businesses, the law. You can't fight me because there's nothing to fight. I am this town." "You're a murderer," Eleanor said. Jesse stopped in front of her cell, still clinging to that story, Mrs. Harrison, even now. "It's not a story, it's truth. Truth is what people believe. And right now, everyone in Silver Creek believes you people tried to kill me last night." Jesse pulled out a piece of paper. "I have 12 witnesses who saw Jack Steele riding toward my house, saw him fire shots through my window, saw him flee when my guards returned fire." "That's a lie," Eleanor said. "Jack was with us all evening." "Can you prove that with witnesses who aren't currently in jail for conspiracy?" Jesse smiled. "I didn't think so." Jack stood slowly, gripping the bars with his good hand. "What's your game here, Jesse? You got us locked up. You won. What else do you want?" "I want confessions, from all of you." Jesse gestured to Cole, who produced more papers. You're going to sign statements saying you conspired to sabotage my businesses and attempted to murder me. Then you're going to apologize publicly. After that, we'll discuss sentencing. And if we don't sign, Sam Tucker challenged, then you hang, all of you, for attempted murder of a prominent citizen. Jesse's voice went cold. I'll make it quick, merciful. Your families won't suffer, but you will die. The silence that followed was crushing. Eleanor looked around at the frightened faces, at Martha Chen's tears, at Reverend Silas's bowed head, at the ranchers and shopkeepers who'd found courage for one night and were now paying for it. I'll sign, Frank Miller said suddenly. I got a wife and son. I can't hang. Frank, no. His wife Beth started. I have to. Frank's voice broke. I'm sorry, but I have to. Anyone else? Jesse asked. One by one hands rose. The Patterson widow, 2 of the ranchers, Joe Peterson. Within minutes, half the prisoners had agreed to sign. Jesse nodded, satisfied. Cole will bring the papers. You'll sign. You'll go home. You'll never speak of this again. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mrs. Harrison. I'm foreclosing on the Steel Ranch. Seems Jack had debts he couldn't pay, just like your husband. You and your boys have 3 days to clear out. Eleanor's world tilted. You can't do that. I already did. The papers are filed. The law is on my side. Jesse looked at Jack. I told you to take my offer, Steele. Now you lose everything. He walked out. Cole stayed behind distributing papers to those who'd agreed to sign. Eleanor watched them one by one put their names to lies, watched the resistance crumble before it could even begin. Don't judge them, Martha Chen said quietly. They got people depending on them. So do I, Eleanor replied. My boys are out there alone. They're not alone. They got each other. Eleanor gripped the bars until her knuckles went white. Across the corridor, Jack sat with his head in his hands. He looked defeated, broken, like a man who'd finally run out of fight. Jack, Eleanor called softly. He didn't respond. Jack, look at me. Slowly he raised his head. His eyes were hollow. Don't give up, Eleanor said. Please, not now. What's the point, Ellie? He won. We lost. It's over. It's not over until we say it is. Look around. Jack gestured at the cells. Half these people are signing confessions. The other half will by noon. Jesse's got us beat. Then we find another way. There is no other way. Jack's voice was raw. I should never have brought you into this. Should never have made you believe we could win. You gave us hope. I gave you false hope. And now you're going to pay for my arrogance. Jack stood moved to the bars between their cells. I'm sorry, Ellie, for all of it. Before Eleanor could respond, a commotion erupted outside, shouting, the sound of horses, gunfire. Cole ran from the office, gun drawn. What the hell? The jail door exploded inward. A man stood in the doorway, silhouetted against morning light. Tall, dressed in dark leathers, a rifle in each hand. Morning, Cole, the stranger said. Been a while. Cole's face went pale. James Wolfe, what are you doing here? Heard my brother's widow was in trouble. Came to help. James stepped inside, and Eleanor got her first clear look at him. He had Daniel's eyes, Daniel's jaw, but where her husband had been gentle, this man was all edges and violence. Your brother, Eleanor whispered. James looked at her through the bars. Daniel Harrison. He was my little brother. We got separated as kids. Took me 15 years to track him down. His voice roughened. Got here 3 weeks too late. You're too late now, too, Cole said. These people are under arrest. You can't just... James shot the lock off Eleanor's cell. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Can't I... He moved to Jack's cell next. Shot that lock, too. then started on the others. "James, stop!" Cole leveled his gun. "I'll shoot you." "Go ahead." James didn't pause. "But you'll have to explain to Jesse how you let his prisoners escape. Think he'll forgive that?" Cole's hand shook. Eleanor saw the conflict in his face. Duty versus survival. Finally, he lowered his gun. "You got 5 minutes," Cole said. "Then I'm raising the alarm." "Fair enough." James finished with the locks. Prisoners poured out. "Anyone who wants to live, follow me. Anyone who wants to stay and sign Jesse's lies, that's your choice." Nobody stayed. They ran through Silver Creek's back streets. James led them to the edge of town, where a dozen horses waited already saddled. "Where did these come from?" Jack asked. "Friends." James swung onto a black stallion. "Daniel wrote me letters before he died. Told me about Jesse, about the silver, about everything. I've been watching this town for 2 weeks, building allies." "What kind of allies?" Eleanor asked, as James pulled her onto his horse behind him. "The kind Jesse made enemies of. Fired workers, displaced ranchers, people with grudges and nothing left to lose." James spurred his horse forward. "We're taking you somewhere safe. Then we're going to finish what Daniel started." They rode hard for an hour. When they finally stopped, Eleanor was disoriented. They were in the foothills east of Silver Creek, in a valley she didn't recognize. But as they crested a rise, she saw why James had brought them here. A camp. 20, maybe 30 people. Tents. Cookfires. Weapons stacked in orderly rows. "Sweet mercy," Martha breathed. "What is this?" "This is the real resistance," James said. "Been building it since I got to Wyoming. Every person here lost something to Jesse Dalton. Every person here wants justice." Jack dismounted, staring at the camp. "You've been planning this the whole time?" "Not the whole time. Originally, I just wanted to kill Jesse myself." James helped Eleanor down. "But then I heard about your meeting last night. Figured you people might be useful." "Useful how?" Sam Tucker demanded. "As witnesses. As martyrs, if necessary." James's tone was cold. "I don't care which. I just want Jesse Dalton dead." Eleanor stepped forward. "That's not justice. That's murder. Call it what you want." James met her eyes. "My brother is dead. Your husband is dead. I'm not walking away until someone pays for that." "Then you're no better than Jesse." "Maybe not, but I'll sleep fine afterward." The camp stirred. A woman emerged from the largest tent. She was middle-aged, hard-faced, with a rifle slung across her back. "This them?" she asked James. "Yeah, they'll need food, water, medical attention for the wounded." The woman nodded. "I'm Sarah Mitchell. Lost my husband and 2 sons to Jesse's mine. Cave-in, they said, was an accident. Wasn't." She looked at the bedraggled prisoners. "You folks are welcome here long as you're willing to fight." "Fight how?" Reverend Silas asked. "However it takes." Sarah's voice was iron. "Jesse Dalton's been terrorizing this territory for a decade. Law won't stop him. God won't stop him. So we will." Eleanor looked around at this army of the dispossessed. At faces marked by loss and rage. At people who'd been pushed so far they'd become dangerous. "This is wrong," she said. "If we do this, we're starting a war." "War's already started," James replied. "We're just fighting back." Jack moved to Eleanor's side. "He's right, Ellie. Jesse made this a war the first time he ordered a man killed. We're just acknowledging reality. Reality is my boys are still at your ranch with Jesse's guards watching them." Eleanor's voice rose. "Reality is, if we attack Jesse, he'll kill them. Kill them to hurt me, to hurt you, to prove he can." James's expression shifted. "Daniel's boys. I didn't think—" "That's the problem. You're not thinking. You're just reacting." Eleanor looked at the assembled people. "All of you. You want revenge so bad you can't see past it. But revenge won't bring back your loved ones. Won't undo what Jesse did. It'll just make more widows, more orphans. So what do you suggest? Sarah Mitchell challenged. We just let Jesse win. I suggest we be smart. Eleanor turned to Jack. You said Jesse's operation depends on 3 things. Bank, mine, reputation. We don't have to kill him. We just have to destroy those 3 things. How? Jack asked. The bank first. We don't spread rumors. We create a run. Get every depositor to withdraw their money on the same day. Jesse can't cover that. The bank fails. Martha stepped forward. I can help with that. I know half the depositors in Silver Creek. Tell them the bank's in trouble, they'll panic. Then the mine. Eleanor looked at James. You said you got fired workers in this camp. They know the operation, know the weak points, sabotage it. Not enough to hurt anyone, just enough to shut it down. James nodded slowly. I got 3 men who worked the explosives. They can seal the main shaft, take weeks to clear. And his reputation? Sarah asked. We expose him, not just to Silver Creek, but to the territorial government, to newspapers, to everyone. Eleanor's mind raced. Jack's got evidence, documents, testimony. We send it everywhere. Make Jesse Dalton's name poison. Jack pulled the folded papers from his coat. Somehow he'd kept them through the arrest. It might work, if we coordinate it right, hit all 3 at once. When? James asked. Tomorrow. Jesse thinks we're beaten, thinks we're scattered and hiding. He won't expect us to strike back this fast. The camp went quiet. Eleanor could see people calculating odds, weighing risks, trying to decide if this crazy plan was their best hope or their death sentence. Finally, Sarah Mitchell spoke. I'm in. Someone gives me a chance to hurt Jesse Dalton without becoming a murderer. I'll take it. Others nodded. Agreement rippled through the camp. Not everyone, but enough. James studied Eleanor for a long moment. Then he said, You got Daniel's spine. He'd be proud. Don't. Eleanor's throat tightened. Don't talk about Daniel like you knew him. You weren't there when he needed you. No, I wasn't. That's my regret to carry. James looked away. But I'm here now, for what it's worth. Eleanor wanted to hate this man, this stranger who shared Daniel's blood but not his heart. But she saw genuine pain in his face, genuine need to make things right. Help us get my boys back safe, she said. Do that, and you can start making up for lost time. James met her eyes, nodded once. Deal. The rest of the day passed in frantic planning. Martha rode back to Silver Creek with 2 others spreading word about the bank's instability. James's explosives men prepared charges for the mine. Jack wrote letters to every newspaper and government office in Wyoming Territory, detailing Jesse's crimes with cold precision. Eleanor tried not to think about her boys, tried not to imagine them scared and alone. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Samuel's face, heard Thomas asking questions she couldn't answer, felt Ben's desperate need to be strong when he was still just a child. They'll be all right, Jack said, finding her as darkness fell. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise we'll get them back. Jack touched her arm gently. Tomorrow, when this is done, your boys will be home, safe. Or we'll all be dead. That's possible too. Jack's honesty was brutal, but appreciated. But Ellie, I meant what I said in that jail cell. I'm sorry. For dragging you into this. For making you believe. Stop. Eleanor turned to face him. You didn't make me believe anything. I chose to fight. Chose to stand up instead of run. That was my decision. A decision that might get you killed. Maybe. But at least I'll die on my feet. Eleanor paused. Jack, what you told me about your past. About Clara and Lily. About the men you killed. You got questions. Just one. Do you regret it? Any of it? Jack was quiet for a long time. I regret not being home when my family needed me, Regret drinking instead of riding. Regret a lot of the men I killed who maybe didn't deserve it. He looked at her. But I don't regret becoming a marshal. Don't regret trying to make the territory safer. I just wish I'd done it better. That's all any of us can do. Try to do better. Eleanor squeezed his hand. Tomorrow we do better. We get my boys back. We stop Jesse. We do it right. Jack nodded. Then he did something unexpected. He pulled her close, wrapped his good arm around her. Eleanor stiffened, then relaxed into the embrace. It wasn't romantic, wasn't even particularly gentle. It was just two broken people holding each other up before a storm. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For not running. For staying. For being better than you think you are." Jack didn't answer, just held her tighter. Across the camp, James Wolfe watched them. His face was unreadable. When Eleanor caught his eye, he nodded once. Some kind of approval or understanding. Then he turned and walked into the darkness, checking weapons with his men. Eleanor pulled back from Jack. "Tomorrow," she said. "Tomorrow," he agreed. Neither of them slept that night. Neither could. They sat by the fire with the others, watching flames dance, waiting for dawn and whatever it would bring. Somewhere in the darkness, Jesse Dalton slept soundly in his comfortable house. Tomorrow he would wake to find his empire crumbling, his bank failing, his mind destroyed, his reputation in ashes, if they succeeded. If they didn't, tomorrow would see them all dead or back in chains. Eleanor looked at the faces around the fire. At Martha Chen and Sarah Mitchell. At Reverend Silas holding his Bible like a shield. At Sam Tucker sharpening a knife with hands that shook. At all the people Jesse had broken who were finding strength in each other. "We're going to win," she said suddenly. Everyone looked at her. "We're going to win because we have to. Because our children are watching. Because the people Jesse killed are watching. Because if we don't win, then everything they suffered was for nothing." Eleanor stood. "Tomorrow we take back Silver Creek. Not with violence, not with revenge, with truth. And truth is stronger than any gun." Jack stood beside her. Then Martha. Then Sarah. One by one the camp rose, united, determined, ready. And in that moment, Eleanor finally understood something Daniel had tried to tell her before he died. That hope wasn't about believing things would work out. Hope was about choosing to fight even when you knew they might not. Tomorrow they would fight. And whatever happened, they would do it together. Dawn broke cold and clear. Eleanor woke to find half the camp already moving. James Wolfe was giving orders, distributing weapons, checking supplies. Jack stood apart, his injured shoulder freshly bandaged, staring toward Silver Creek. "It's time," Sarah Mitchell said, approaching Eleanor. "You ready?" Eleanor thought of her boys, of Daniel, of everything that had led to this moment. "Ready as I'll ever be." The plan was simple. 3 groups, 3 targets, all hitting at the same moment. Martha and her team would start the bank run at 10 o'clock sharp. James and the miners would seal the main shaft at the same time. And Jack, Eleanor, and a small group would ride straight to Jesse's house to retrieve the boys and deliver the evidence to the territorial marshal who Jack had secretly sent for 2 days ago. If everything went right, Jesse would be drowning in chaos by noon. If anything went wrong, they'd all be dead by sunset. "Stay close to me," Jack told Eleanor as they prepared to ride. "When we get to my ranch, let me go in first. Those are my boys. And they need their mother alive." Jack's voice was firm. "Jesse's men are watching that house. They see you, they might panic. Do something stupid. Let me talk to them first." Eleanor wanted to argue, but knew he was right. "Fine, but if anything happens..." "Nothing's going to happen." Jack mounted his horse. "Trust me." The ride to Silver Creek took 30 minutes. They approached from the east, staying off the main roads. James split off with his team heading for the mine. Martha had left hours earlier to be in position. That left Eleanor, Jack, Sam Tucker, and 3 of Sarah's people, 6 against whatever Jesse had waiting. They reached the Steel Ranch just after 9, The house looked peaceful. Smoke rose from the chimney. Horses grazed in the corral. But Eleanor saw movement in the windows, saw the glint of rifle barrels. 4 men inside, Jack said quietly. Maybe more in the barn. How do we do this? Sam asked. We walk up to the front door and knock. Jack dismounted. Eleanor, stay mounted. If shooting starts, you ride for the marshal's office in town. Understand, Jack? Promise me. Eleanor looked at his face, saw the fear beneath his determination. I promise. Jack walked toward the house. Sam and the others spread out, taking cover behind the corral fence and water trough. Eleanor's heart hammered so hard she could barely breathe. Jack reached the porch, knocked, waited. The door opened. One of Jesse's men stood there, rifle pointed at Jack's chest. Steele, you got a death wish coming here. I got business with the boys inside. Their mother wants them back. Yeah. Well, Mr. Dalton says they stay put until you people stop causing trouble. Trouble's about to get a lot worse. Jack's voice was conversational. Easy. In about 15 minutes, Jesse's bank is going to have a run. Every depositor in Silver Creek pulling their money at once. Bank can't cover that. It'll collapse. The guard's eyes flickered. Uncertainty crossed his face. Same time, Jack continued. The mine's main shaft is getting sealed. Won't reopen for months. That's Jesse's income gone. You're bluffing. Am I? Jack gestured toward town. Look at the street. See all those people heading toward the bank. The guard looked. Eleanor looked too. Saw what Jack had arranged. A stream of people all walking purposefully toward the center of town. Martha's doing. What do you want? The guard asked. I want those boys. I want you and your men to walk away. And I want you to tell Jesse that if he ever comes near the Harrison family again, I'll make what's happening today look like mercy. The guard licked his lips, glanced back into the house. I can't just... You can and you will. Jack's hand moved to his gun, not threatening, just ready. Because if you don't, my people are going to start shooting, and you're the first one who'll die. Reese won't like this. Reese is in town guarding the bank. By now he knows what's happening. He's got bigger problems than 3 kids. The guard hesitated. Eleanor could see him calculating, weighing his loyalty to Jesse against his desire to live. Let me talk to the others, he said finally. You got 2 minutes. The door closed. Jack didn't move. Sam Tucker called softly from the corral. That was a hell of a gamble, Steele. It's all a gamble today. Eleanor watched the windows, saw shadows moving, heard voices arguing. Every second felt like an hour. The door opened again. This time, 3 more guards came out. All armed. All tense. We're taking the horses, the first guard said. We're leaving. But Steele, you tell Jesse this wasn't our idea. Tell him we didn't have a choice. I'll tell him. The guards moved quickly, gathering horses from the barn. Within minutes, they were riding toward town, kicking up dust. Jack turned to Eleanor. They're all yours. She was off her horse before he finished speaking. Ran to the house, burst through the door. Boys! Ma! Samuel's voice came from upstairs. Eleanor took the steps 3 at a time, found all 3 of them in the master bedroom unharmed but scared. Samuel crashed into her arms. Thomas and Ben followed, all of them talking at once. We thought you were dead, Thomas said. They said Jesse was going to hang you. Ben added, his voice shaking. I'm fine. We're all fine. Eleanor held them tight. But we need to go. Right now. Where? Somewhere safe. Eleanor ushered them downstairs. Jack was waiting, his face softening when he saw the boys. Everyone all right? He asked. We're good. Ben straightened his shoulders. What happened? Where's Jesse? About to have a very bad day. Jack helped Samuel onto a horse. Come on, we got one more stop. They rode hard for Silver Creek. As they approached, Eleanor could hear the commotion. Shouting, chaos. The bank was surrounded by people demanding their money. Inside, she could see clerks frantically counting bills, but there wasn't enough. Not nearly enough to satisfy the crowd. "It's working," Sam breathed. "First part anyway." Jack led them past the bank toward the marshal's office. "Now comes the hard part." The office door stood open. Inside, a man Eleanor didn't recognize sat behind the desk. He was maybe 50, with gray hair and a face that had seen hard years. A territorial marshal's badge gleamed on his chest. "Marshal Hendricks," Jack said. "Thank you for coming." "Steele." Hendricks stood, shook Jack's hand. "Got your message. Interesting timing with all this chaos." "Not coincidental." Jack pulled out the documents. "Everything you need is here. Bank fraud, murder, witness testimony. Jesse Dalton's been running Wyoming territory like his personal kingdom. Time someone stopped him." Hendricks took the papers, started reading. His face grew darker with each page. "This is damning," he said finally. "If it's all true." "It's true," Martha Chen said from the doorway. She'd been standing there listening. "Every word. I can get you 20 more witnesses who'll say the same." "Jesse Dalton's a powerful man," Hendricks said carefully. "He's got friends in the territorial government. This won't be easy." "Nothing about this has been easy." Jack's voice was hard. "But it's right. And unless I'm mistaken, you took an oath to uphold the law regardless of who it inconveniences." Hendricks smiled slightly. "I did at that." He folded the papers. "All right, I'll investigate, formally. But Steele, you need to know this could take months, years maybe. Jesse will fight this with every resource he has. Let him fight." Eleanor stepped forward. "As long as he's fighting in court instead of killing people, that's progress." Hendricks looked at her. "You, the Harrison widow." "I am." "Your husband's death is in these files. I'm sorry for your loss." "Don't be sorry. Get justice." "I'll do my best, ma'am." A tremendous boom shook the building. Everyone ran outside. Smoke rose from the direction of the mine. James and his team had done their part. "What the hell was that?" Hendricks demanded. "The mine," Jack said. "Main shaft's sealed now. Take 3 months minimum to clear." "That's destruction of property. That's revolution." Jack met the marshal's eyes. "Jesse Dalton's been destroying lives for a decade. Today we destroyed his empire. Call it even." Hendricks looked like he wanted to argue, but another sound cut him off. Gunfire. Coming from the bank. They ran. The crowd had turned into a mob. Reese and 3 of Jesse's men were trying to hold them back, but it wasn't working. Someone threw a rock. Someone else fired a shot. Within seconds, it was chaos. "Get the boys inside," Jack told Eleanor. "Now." Eleanor pulled her sons into the marshal's office. Sam Tucker joined them, rifle ready. Through the window, Eleanor watched Jack and Hendricks wade into the mob trying to restore order. "This is bad," Sam said. "This is real bad." He was right. What had started as a bank run was becoming a riot. Years of anger and fear were boiling over. People who'd lost everything to Jesse were taking it out on his property, his men, his town. "Someone's going to get killed," Eleanor whispered. Then she saw him, Jesse Dalton, striding down the main street with Cole Mason at his side. Jesse's face was cold fury. Cole looked sick. "Everyone stop!" Jesse's voice carried over the chaos. "Stop this right now." The mob hesitated. Old habits died hard. Jesse had controlled them for so long that even in revolution they paused when he commanded. "You people have lost your minds," Jesse continued. "Destroyed my mine. Started a run on my bank. For what? Because some washed-up marshal and a crazy widow told you lies." "They ain't lies," someone shouted. "You killed Harold Patterson. You killed my brother Thomas." Sam Tucker yelled from the office doorway. "You killed Daniel Harrison," Eleanor said, stepping out despite Jack's protest. "You murdered him and stole his land." Jesse's eyes found her. "I built this town, gave all of you jobs, homes, a future. And this is how you repay me." "You built this town on corpses," Eleanor replied. "On fear, on blood money. That's not a future. That's just another kind of death." Eloquent words from a woman who has nothing. Jesse gestured to the smoking mine, the panicked bank. "Look what you've done. You've destroyed Silver Creek, destroyed the only thing keeping this territory civilized." "No," Jack said, moving to stand beside Eleanor. "We've freed it. From you." Jesse laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You think this is freedom? Wait until the money runs out, until the jobs disappear, until everyone here realizes they've traded prosperity for poverty." He looked at the crowd. "Is that what you want? To go back to scratching in the dirt like animals?" "Better than living on our knees," Martha Chen said. Others echoed her. The crowd's resolve was hardening. Eleanor saw Jesse realize he was losing them, saw desperation flicker across his face. "Cole," Jesse said quietly, "arrest them. All of them. Start with Steele and the Harrison woman." Cole didn't move. "Cole, I gave you an order." "No." Cole's voice was barely audible. "What?" "I said no." Cole turned to face Jesse. "I'm done. Done killing for you. Done lying for you. Done pretending any of this is lawful." Jesse's face went purple. "You ungrateful—" "I'm grateful for the money that saved my son," Cole interrupted. "But not grateful enough to keep being your executioner." He removed his badge, dropped it in the dirt. "Find someone else to do your dirty work." Jesse stared at the badge, at Cole, at the crowd watching this betrayal. Then his hand moved to his gun. "Don't," Marshal Hendricks warned. "I'm standing right here. You draw that weapon, I'll shoot you myself." Jesse's hand froze. His eyes darted around looking for support. Finding none. His men had scattered or fled. His power was evaporating like morning dew. "This isn't over," Jesse said. "I'll fight this in court. I'll appeal. You'll lose." Hendricks pulled out handcuffs. "Jesse Dalton, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and suspicion of murder. You have the right to—" Jesse ran, turned, and sprinted toward his horse tied near the bank. Jack started after him, but Hendricks was faster. The old marshal moved like a man half his age, tackling Jesse before he reached the animal. They went down hard. Jesse fought viciously, landing punches that split Hendricks's lip, but the marshal was tough. He got Jesse's arms behind his back, snapped the cuffs on. "It's over, Dalton," Hendricks said, hauling Jesse to his feet. "Finally over." Jesse looked at Eleanor. Pure hatred burned in his eyes. "Your husband died screaming. Did Cole tell you that he begged for his life, cried for you and those brats? And I laughed. I laughed while he bled." Eleanor walked forward. She didn't know she was going to do it until her hand cracked across Jesse's face. The slap echoed in the sudden silence. "Daniel died fighting for what was right," she said quietly. "You'll die in prison for what was wrong. I know which one I'd choose." Jesse spat blood. "You've won nothing. Without the mine, without the bank, Silver Creek dies. Everyone here will suffer." "Then we'll build something new," Eleanor replied. "Something clean. Something that doesn't require murder to sustain it." "You're naive." "Maybe. But I'm free." Eleanor looked at her boys standing in the doorway. At Jack beside her. At all the people who'd found courage to stand up. We're all free. Finally. Hendricks dragged Jesse toward the jail. Cole followed, his shoulders slumped, but his face showing relief for the first time in years. The crowd parted to let them through. Then slowly people began to cheer. It started as a whisper, and built to a roar. Not celebration exactly, more like release. Years of fear and anger pouring out in sound. Jack touched Eleanor's arm. "You all right?" "Ask me in a year." Eleanor smiled despite exhaustion. "Right now, I'm just trying not to fall over." "Ma." Ben ran to her, his brothers following. "Is it really over?" "The fighting part is." Eleanor knelt to their level. "But rebuilding is going to be harder. Are you ready for that?" "Can we stay here?" Thomas asked. "In Silver Creek." Eleanor looked at Jack. He nodded slowly. "Yeah," Eleanor said. "We can stay." "At Mr. Jack's ranch?" Samuel's eyes were hopeful. "If he'll have us," Eleanor replied. Jack crouched beside them. "How about we make it official? Not the Steele Ranch anymore. The Steele and Harrison Ranch. Partners." "Partners," Ben repeated, trying the word out. Then he extended his hand. "Deal." Jack shook it solemnly, then Thomas's hand, then Samuel's. The little boy held on longer than necessary, and when Jack looked at him, Eleanor saw tears in the man's eyes. "We'll make it work," Jack said, his voice rough. "All of us together." "Together," Eleanor agreed. The crowd began to disperse. People drifted back to their homes, their businesses, their lives. Silver Creek had changed in the span of a single morning. The bank would reopen eventually under new management. The mine would be cleared and reopened under safety regulations and fair pay. Jesse Dalton's empire was broken. But the real work was just beginning. Martha Chen approached, her face showing exhaustion and relief. "That was something. Never thought I'd see the day." "None of us did," Eleanor replied. "What happens now?" Martha asked. "With Jesse on trial, with everything changing, we rebuild." Jack straightened. "Make this town what it should have been from the start. A place where people can live without fear, where justice means something." "That's a tall order." "Good thing we got time." Jack looked at Eleanor. "And good people to help." James Wolfe materialized from the crowd. He'd stayed back during the confrontation, but Eleanor saw him now, saw Daniel's features in his face. Her throat tightened. "The mine's sealed tight," James reported. "My men did good work. Jesse won't get production back for months." "Thank you," Eleanor said. James nodded. Then he looked at the boys. "You must be Daniel's sons." Ben stepped forward. "Benjamin, this is Thomas and Samuel." "You look like your pa." James's voice caught. "All of you." "Did you know him?" Thomas asked. "Our pa. When he was young. Before life separated us." James knelt. "He was a good man. The best I knew. I'm sorry I wasn't here to help him. To help you." "You're here now," Ben said simply. James smiled. It was a sad expression, but genuine. "Yeah, I am." He stood. "I'll be staying in the territory. Got nowhere else to go. Maybe we could, I don't know, get to know each other." Eleanor saw the hope and fear warring in his face. Saw a man trying to connect with the family of a brother he'd barely known. "We'd like that," she said. Relief flooded James's features. "Thank you." He tipped his hat and walked away. Eleanor watched him go, wondering what Daniel would think of all this. Of his brother coming back. Of Eleanor finding help in a broken Marshall. Of their sons learning to shoot and fight. Would Daniel approve? Would he understand? He'd be proud. Jack said quietly, reading her thoughts. "Of what you did, how you fought, how you protected your family. How do you know? Because I'm proud, and I barely knew him." Jack paused. "Daniel was a good man who saw evil and stood against it. You did the same. That's his legacy living on in you." Eleanor felt tears sting her eyes. The first real tears since Daniel died. Not tears of grief or fear, but of release. Of finally being able to breathe without the weight of Jesse Dalton crushing down on her. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything." "Don't thank me yet. We got a ranch to rebuild, a town to help, 3 boys to raise. Jack smiled. That's going to take years of work. Good thing I'm not afraid of hard work. Neither am I. They stood there in the dusty street surrounded by the ruins of Jesse's empire and the beginnings of something new. The sun climbed higher. Life continued. Silver Creek breathed easier. 6 months later, Eleanor stood on the porch of the Steele and Harrison Ranch, watching autumn colors paint the valley in gold and red. The house gleamed with fresh paint. The barn was full of horses. The fields promised good harvest. Ben worked in the corral, breaking a young mare with patience Daniel would have approved of. Thomas was in the barn tending to a pregnant mare about to foal. Samuel played near the creek with a wooden horse Jack had carved for him. Inside, Eleanor knew Clara Steele's pictures finally faced outward again. Jack had turned them around one day without comment. Moving forward didn't mean forgetting. It just meant making room for what came next. In town, Silver Creek was changing. The bank had reopened under Martha Chen's management. The mine operated with safety regulations and fair wages. Jesse Dalton sat in territorial prison awaiting trial. Cole Mason had left Wyoming entirely, taking his son somewhere fresh to start over. And Eleanor had a garden. Real flowers like Clara had grown. Like she'd always wanted, but never had time for. Red roses and yellow sunflowers and purple lavender that smelled like hope. Jack emerged from the barn, saw her on the porch, and walked over. Dinner soon. Half an hour. Boys washed up. As much as they ever do. Jack smiled, leaned against the porch rail beside her. Got a letter from Hendricks today. Jesse's trial is set for next month. He wants us to testify. We'll be there. It'll be hard, dredging it all up again. I know. Eleanor looked at the valley, at the life they'd built from ashes. But it's important. For Daniel. For everyone Jesse hurt. Yeah. They stood in companionable silence. Not lovers, not yet. Maybe not ever, but family. Partners. 2 broken people who'd found a way to be whole together. Ma, Samuel called. Come see the fish I caught. Eleanor laughed. Be right there. She looked at Jack. You coming? Wouldn't miss it. They walked toward the creek together, toward their boys, toward the future that Daniel had died trying to secure, and Eleanor had fought to claim. Behind them, the sun set on Silver Creek, painting everything gold. And in that light, Eleanor finally understood what Daniel had known all along. Home wasn't a place. It was the people you fought for, the ground you defended, the future you built from the rubble of the past. It was 3 boys growing strong. It was a man learning to forgive himself. It was a woman discovering she was braver than she knew. Home was here now, in this valley where she'd lost everything and found something worth more than she could have imagined. Home was the sound of her son's laughter, the weight of honest work, the promise of tomorrow, earned through the courage of today. And Eleanor Harrison, widow, no more stood in that golden light and chose to be happy.